It's just gone lunchtime. This is the third and final hour of All Angles here on eNCA. Good afternoon. I'm Masakho. So it is that time of the day when we give you an update on how far many of the stories we've been following for you today have advanced. Here's your lunchtime update. We've got our reporters who are out and about across the country bringing you the latest top stories this Wednesday. We've got Ronald Masidna in the Eastern Cape in Mchunu, and then we've got Manqoba Mchunu in Makado in Limpopo, as well as Aviwe Mtila in the Western Cape. Ronald, let me start with you. You're investigating the allegations of issues around registration at the Walter Sisulu University, and you've spoken to the South African Student Congress regarding students' concerns. What did they say?
So concerns have been raised by student representatives after a group of families came to them saying that they've paid huge lump sums to get their children registered at Walter Sisulu University, and that they've been told that there's no more placement left at the university. I managed to speak to the spokesperson here at the university, and she says that this matter has been resolved. It seems like that number has been reduced quite drastically, and those parents who have paid the monies but are not having their children registered at the institution will be given refunds. And that's also not the only issue. The issue, of course, was with accommodating the thousands of students who will be taking part in the academic year, which starts on Monday. And those who haven't received accommodation as yet, there is a contingency plan in place, according to the university, where a 48-hour plan for these students who don't have accommodation, where they are accommodated in residential areas in and around East London especially. But we do understand that there's also a meeting taking place with the parents who are concerned about the registration process. Many of these parents are coming far wide from other provinces just to register their students a year at the institution. But of course, we did speak to student representatives earlier, and this is what they had to say.
The registration here is running, but it's not running on a very smooth way. It's steady, it's slowly, because there are issues of NSFAS that students are not yet cleared by NSFAS. So what usually happens in previous years, students who are eligible for funding by NSFAS, or students who are provisionally funded by NSFAS, they used to be catered for in terms of registration, but they registered, and then after being registered, they get accommodation. But to our surprise this year, if you are not yet cleared by NSFAS, even though they are provisionally funded, the institution does not give them status registration, ultimately accommodation. They are not receiving accommodation. They are not handling it the right way because there's no transparency, there's no communication. You know, the university spokesperson responded in saying that this problem is a problem across the country, which we believe that is not the case, because we have tried to reach out to other universities. We found that the system in other universities is running smoothly.
All right, so Manqoba is covering that bus accident that happened in Makado on Monday, claiming 21 lives. Manqoba, the Deputy Transport Minister, visiting those victims of that horror crash in hospitals today. What are they telling her happened?
They were filled in as their candidates, and hopefully that particular person may emerge.
Some of the hospitals, just visiting those who had survived. Of course, many of them are still, shocked about what happened on Monday, and they are still in pain. Masiko, they are injured from that accident. They claimed the lives of 21 people, 19 of them dying on the scene, and 2 of them dying in hospitals. And Masiko, what came out of that is new information as far as those victims are concerned about what really happened on Monday. Of course, we've been hearing reports suggesting that the accident was caused by the cash-in transit vehicle that had veered off and lost control and collided with the bus, which then led to the bus rolling over the bridge into a river stream. But according to what we're hearing, Masigo, there are questions as far as what really happened on the scene. In fact, we're hearing from some of the survivors claiming that it was actually the bus driver that was responsible for this accident, that had tried to overtake a vehicle when this accident then occurred. These are some of the sentiments that were being shared by some of those survivors. In fact, they also spoke, Masigo, at length about the conditions of those buses. But Masigo, we're here in Zanani, which is one of the areas here where most of the families were affected, and the families are right inside here behind me. They are meeting with the Deputy Minister, but I've got one family member here just to give us a sense of how they are feeling. Baba Phineas, Professor Phineas Chauke, thank you for your time, sir. I know that as a family you're still quite devastated. What do you know so far about what happened, and who did you lose in this accident?
Good afternoon, Manqoba, and good afternoon also to the viewers. Yes, as a family, we've actually lost, I have lost a nephew. You know, she was the breadwinner, a single mother, and really quite devastated because we really not know how her kids will now survive, because I can actually mention to you that the kids suddenly are now orphaned because they've lost their father as well. So, yeah, we're quite devastated as a family.
And just tell me about the accident. What are you hearing, and how did you discover that your nephew had died as a family?
Yeah, no, this is quite tragic. You know, I received a call from one of the nephews that this particular nephew was in a bus that, was involved in this accident. Now, yes, but we didn't know as to whether she has survived or whether she's one of the deceased. So I was sent to one of the hospitals nearby to check if her name was there amongst those people that had been taken to the hospital. Unfortunately, her name was not there. We actually, some other people were also sent to the nearby hospitals. We have got 3 hospitals around. Her name couldn't be found. And remember it happened after 5 o'clock. So the whole evening we're trying to search for her, searching for her body or searching for her alive. But we just couldn't get through until very late, around 12 o'clock on the day of the occurrence of this accident, that we learned that she's amongst those that have been deceased. But then we didn't know where she's been located. And it was very tough, because then we had to find ways of revealing, her passing on to her children. It was very, very difficult, also to her sisters and all the relatives.
And just, Baba, how is the family doing now? How are you coping, and what are you hoping for? Do you want to see, people being held accountable for this, and who do you think should be to blame?
Well, we are not so sure as to whether, because I should think the whole matter is under investigation. It happened, early in the evening, of course. We have got sketchy ideas of actually what happened, but we are not so certain now. We hope that, justice will be done, because, the manner in which the accident happened, it was very, very difficult for families. Not only my family, most of the families around, you can see, if you go around here, that, most of the families are really affected by this. And we definitely would want to see justice. But above all, we hope that now that the minister is here, we are going to get some assistance. We had never anticipated that anything of this nature would happen. People go to work, you expect them back in the evening, and suddenly here we are. So it's quite tough. We hope things will go well.
Thank you very much for speaking to us. I know it must be difficult, and condolences to your family, sir. Thank you very much. Well, that was one of the family members just describing the pain that they're going through as families, saying that this has really, left them inconsolable. The fact that their loved ones died in such a way, and in his case, he says that one of the nephews has now been left without any of his parents. The parent had died earlier, and then now the last surviving parent, also killed in this crash. And this is the reality of the pain that families are going through here.
All right, let's go to Aviwe Mtila, who is in the Western Cape. Aviwe, about 1,400 pupils still not placed at schools in that particular province. What could be the excuse from the Education Department?
And Maseko, mind you, we are halfway through the first term of the 2023 curriculum year, and hundreds, while those numbers going into the thousands of learners that are yet to be placed. Remember, we were here when the coastal schools opened in the Western Cape, and the number there that time was 576 learners that were yet to be placed. Now that has jumped quite significantly, Maseko. It's 1,400 plus learners that are yet to be placed. In fact, I had a conversation with the MEC of Education in the province about an hour ago, finding out what the exact challenges are. He says that in the majority of that 1,400 plus are learners that are extremely late applicants. And it goes on, of course, to paint the infrastructure woes, where you'd find out that there are not enough schools to cater for the thousands of learners that come into the Western Cape looking for schooling. But I went on to ask Maseko then, for the sake of the parents, when all these learners will be catered for and actually accepted in the various schools. Because you remember last year, it was as late as June when some of those learners were actually accepted and started taking place in schooling. Now he didn't give a firm confirmation of when that would happen, but saying that they're doing the best as the department. But I went on to speak, Maseko, to some of the parents earlier on in the morning. One of them said that they applied timelessly, that's for Sumzi Silo, applied timelessly back in March already, the online application system, but wasn't accepted in all the 9 schools that he applied in. So the son now is actually staying at home, not attending school. In fact, the school that they were given by the Department of Education in the province was far off, where the child has to actually get 3 taxis to get to school. That's something that they can't afford, and it's actually something that I posed to the MEC here. What do they do then for those parents that have been put far away from the schools, and it becomes costly, just the transportation of it all? This is what the MEC had to say.
I do understand that parents who've not got their school of choice are under pressure. Unfortunately, given the kinds of admission pressures that we are experiencing, some parents are going to have to make arrangements to transport their children to schools. But again, if parents have not been matched with their school of choice, they are, as I say, welcome to enter into a discussion with the district so that we can try to better accommodate them. Ultimately, this problem will be resolved over time as we significantly expand the number of schools in our province.
All right, that was your All Angles lunchtime update on eNCA with reporters Manqoba, Mchunu, Aviwe Mtila and Ronald Masidna.